Super 7 has just released an O-ring action figure that I have wanted since I was a kid. Welcome to Pegwarmers, I'm Kevin, and I'm here to talk about toys. Today, we are checking out the newest wave of Super 7 O-ring GIJoe figures, aka Reaction Plus. So the newest wave, I knew these were on their way to me. I should have gotten them at any point in time. Last week I kind of mentioned it in the episode, and they arrived in between filming and editing, but there wasn't time to go back, right? It would have been too much of an edit crunch, so these guys became the topic for this week's episode, and I'm really excited to have these guys. I love 3 3/4 inch O-ring GIJoe. It is my all-time favorite style and scale and IP. It's everything for me. Do I love everything Super 7 does? Do I love all the choices they're making with this line? Not necessarily, but they're making O-ring GIJoe characters, and they're doing a lot of cool stuff we haven't had before. They're also playing it safe a little bit on character choices for certain things, but I understand the business side of that. And we're going to start with the safest character, Snake Eyes. This is the second O-ring version of Snake Eyes they have released. They did a comic-style version. That's the blue and gray and black one, or charcoal and light gray and blue. And this one, the more purple version, is the cartoon version of Snake Eyes. The man is a total mystery, but he's real good at his job. Heck, he's the best. A little similar to Wolverine there in his, style. It's not quite the Wolverine, I'm the best at what I do, but what I do ain't pretty. But not bad. And I guess this Hawk or somebody doesn't really credit that quote on his file card, but one of his team members had to say that about him. I love that they're doing the O-rings. I love that they're doing the cross-sell on the back. Artwork on the front looks pretty good. So I really like those little features. But let's pop this Snake Eyes out of the package so we can take a look at him. So I've got Snake Eyes out of the package here. He comes with one accessory. He comes with a sword. Feels a little cheap for the repaint guy to get only one accessory. The original version of this figure, this is the comic version, which had the blue boots, which I still think was an odd choice, came with a sword, a backpack, and an Uzi. I didn't love those accessories that much, so I guess I can't be too disappointed they didn't come with them again. But it seems like the backpack molded in a different color wouldn't have been a bad choice, even though he probably never wears the backpack in the cartoon. It's also possible that he never uses the Uzi in the cartoon. This might be totally accurate. The sword seems a little short, but it just feels a little cheap getting a repaint without accessories. Now, as I'm starting to take a look at the figure here, I can see that he's not a 100% repaint. So that is actually kind of cool, and maybe that's making me change my mind a little bit here. So their heads are definitely different. They have different visors. One is the more cartoon, and then there's the more comic book accurate visor. Even the chest strap is different. It looks like the arms, even the arms aren't quite the same. The forearm is different. Yeah, the forearms might be different on them. Wow. Alright, Super 7. I take some of this back. This might be a unique figure. You would have thought that it'd be mostly a reuse of parts, but they were going more for a cartoon accuracy. So I got to give them some credit for that. I've always liked this kind of style for Snake Eyes. He does use a pistol, especially in the opening of GIJoe the movie. There's a great shot of him, like a close-up of him in that opening sequence that I actually used to have as a wallpaper on my computer for a long time. That would have been nice to get him a little pistol to go with the sword. But I do enjoy this figure a lot. I'm glad to kind of finally get the Sunbow version of Snake Eyes. It's a version that's kind of needed to be done correctly for a long time. Of course, he's got standard Reaction Plus articulation, which means he is a swivel head GIJoe. He has all the articulation of the 83, 84 Joes. Doesn't have the ball joint at the head, which is a little disappointing, but I guess it's not a deal breaker. But he has all the rest of the articulation with swivels at the shoulders and hinges, swivel at the elbow and a hinge at the elbow, the O-ring waist joint, the J-hook T-bar legs that move up and down out to the side slightly, and bends at the knees. Yeah, so I'm still not super impressed with the accessory, but I think the figure looks great. And I think he's probably a pretty good one. I probably would rather have this one in my collection than the comic book version with the blue boots. Next up is our first Zartan from the Super 7 O-Ring line. And this one is another version that we've never seen. This isn't just regular cartoon Zartan, it's Cold Slither Zartan. One of Cobra Commander's many plots, Zartan and the Dreadnoks dress up as a rock band and use subliminal messages to take over the minds of the Americans. Psychology profile grows into various multiple personalities to such an extent that the original personality becomes buried and forgotten. Alright, and I love on the front here it says UV color changing skin. They've got that old feature built into this Zartan. The original Zartan figure had color changing skin. That was dropped for his Ninja Force version. Funny he didn't get a Shadow Ninja figure because the color change feature there would have worked well for the character. We're going to pop him out of the package, take a closer look. I really like the artwork they've got going on here for Zartan. Alright, we've got Zartan out of the package. He's got his mouth open, and so he's singing and rocking out, which is an unusual thing for an action figure line, especially G.I. Joe. There are some toy lines where people have more emotion on their face, but G.I. Joes tend to be fairly static, with rare occasions like Duke's smile. He's got great hair sculpted on there. He's got his eye makeup with the green eyelids, or eyeballs. He's wearing a vest. You can see his skin under the vest there. It is a little bit of a strange, like a more glossy plastic than the rest of the stuff, and I guess that's because it's the color change plastic. His arms have some small wristbands on them. They're fairly scrawny arms, but that seems to be what we see with this line. They're kind of taking their cues from those first couple years of the G.I. Joe line, where the figures were pretty thin. He's got yellow pants with some stripes at the bottom. He's got a little chain loop belt and gray boots. All the standard articulation you would expect, although his head might turn a little bit less because he's got that long hair there stopping it from moving too much. He looks pretty good. Cold Slither's got to be one of the most memorable episodes. There's a handful of episodes from that original cartoon, like The Viper and Cold Slither, that just really stuck with people. You know, people that haven't even watched the cartoon, haven't rewatched it as an adult, and they still remember certain, you know, plot elements, certain things that happen in it. And Cold Slither's definitely one of those. As accessories, Zartan gets two. He comes with a little tiny microphone. Oh, man. Microphones, always those little accessories that get lost in the G.I. Joe line, but this one is not a helmet mic, but an actual audio mic. That's a great accessory for him to rock out with. In some ways, it'd be good if it was on a stand, because he has a guitar to play, which will tie up his hands, but I think it'll work. Let's see here. So Super 7 has done a lot of musician reaction figures, so I guess they've kind of figured out how to make 3 3/4 inch guitars pretty well. He's got a strap here. I'm trying to figure out what the best way is to put the strap on the figure here, so it helps him hold the guitar the right way, so he can look like he's playing it. It's got to have a pretty thin neck, although maybe you're not actually supposed to put his hand around it. You know how sometimes, like when you have a character like cradle their weapon, you just kind of put the hand under it, not actually gripping it, because the figures can't quite make that move. There we go. He looks pretty good rocking out on that guitar. I do kind of wish the strings were painted. Maybe that's too fine of a detail, but like a gray stripe on the guitar where the strings would go would have looked good. Take some footage of the color change feature and stick it in the video here. All right, there we go. Out in the sun. Slowly starting to change. Huh, slower than I would have expected. He's looking pretty good. There he is, like a strange, unearthly color. Zartan's aversion to the sun. Next up, we've got another personal favorite, Wild Bill. Wild Bill's look in the cartoon was pretty different from his original action figure. His hat not being blue makes it look more like a cowboy hat and less like a cavalry hat. Plus, he had that bright orange vest. Is it a life preserver that he can inflate if he crashes? Is it a cowboy vest? I'm not really sure. But overall, great looking figure. And Wild Bill got a lot of screen time in the cartoon show. Amiable and slow talking. Fancies himself a country western singer. Totally honest in personal dealings, but not beyond spinning a tall tale for the amusement of his comrades. So I had the Dragonfly helicopter as a kid. It was one of the first vehicles I ever had. It wasn't new to me. Some of my first G.I. Joe vehicles were secondhand. A boy that lived up the street from me outgrew G.I. Joe and passed the stuff on, or I don't really know what the story was with that. He had Transformers and hung on to those, but he passed his G.I. Joes on to me. So I don't know. He might have just been old enough that he liked the challenge of Transformers more than the simple action figure format. I don't really know, but I thank that guy for passing on those Joes to me, because I had a lot of fun with them, including the Dragonfly. I did not have Wild Bill as a kid, though, because it didn't come with the box of stuff that he sent me, as far as I know, because I know I didn't have Wild Bill for a long time as a kid. I eventually did get a secondhand one at a yard sale to put in my Dragonfly, and that was great, but he is a fun character for sure. Howdy, partner! I'm Wild Bill. I love how Wild Bill in the comic book not only flew the Dragonfly, but also flew the G.I. Joe C-130 plane, their big transport plane, making him a very versatile pilot, being able to fly fixed-wing and rotary-wing aircraft. In the cartoon, I think he pretty much stuck to the Dragonfly, but the Dragonfly got used all the time. So we got a pretty good-looking figure here. He's got a little tampo on both of his shoulders, giving him a little extra detail there. He's got, I guess, a dog tag, or just a big zipper pull. His orange vest, he does have a steer belt buckle, which is actually a detail on his original figure. He's got some pockets molded on his pants, which gives him a little bit more detail than some of the other characters in this line, who have pretty basic pants, to be honest, with a lot of them. And gray boots down at the bottom there. He's got his sunglasses and his mustache, and his hat. The hat is non-removable, which I assumed the vintage one was also non-removable. His head's real stiff. He's got all the standard articulation that we expect with these O-Ring Plus figures. And he comes with 2 accessories. One is a little pocket calculator on a string. I don't really know what this is supposed to be. It's almost like a satchel, but it's got a lot of little buttons sculpted on it, and it just kind of shows it slung across his shoulder. I don't really remember that detail in the cartoon, whether he wore something like this in just one episode or in all of them. But that gives him a little something extra, a little, sash across his chest there. It's not a holster, though. Definitely some sort of techno device. And he also comes with a pistol. The handle on that is painted white, which is a nice little detail. It is kind of cool that Super 7 paints some of the accessories. Not all of them, but it's just kind of a nice little touch. It does distinguish them from vintage figures a little bit, because vintage figures never really had paint on their accessories, unless it was maybe like a helmet. But it just kind of adds a little extra nuance to the guy, and I think that's a great looking Wild Bill. You could go right in your Dragonfly now if you're missing the vintage Wild Bill, or if you prefer this one over the green-suited one like the original. When I was a kid, I got into G.I. Joe early on, kind of eased into it, saw the cartoon, got some stuff given to me by the neighbor kid, but it wasn't until 1986 that I really started to collect G.I. Joe as a kid, getting stuff for my birthday. I honestly think the first things I ever opened were from 1986, getting like Lifeline and Beachhead and a few other characters from that year, Mainframe. Those were some of the first G.I. Joes I ever had, and straight out of a package, all right? And then in 1987, G.I. Joe the movie came out. I didn't see it in theaters. It wasn't actually released in theaters, even though that was the plan. It was broken up into multiple parts and showed on TV. And my friend Will, who was a kid that I played G.I. Joe with all the time in my, preschool years. This is literally, right before kindergarten and kindergarten age. His dad taped it off TV and cut out the commercials, and my dad made a copy of that. And so I had G.I. Joe the movie on tape. So I had G.I. Joe the movie on a cassette tape, and I watched it a lot. And it was the last, like, piece of the cartoon. When the cartoon stopped being played in syndication, there was a break between it and the Deke series, and even once the Deke series came out, I didn't get the channel it was on, so I only got to watch it at a friend's house. We lived in the boonies, and we had an antenna on the roof, and whatever channel Deke series got played on, we didn't get it. So I only ever saw a smattering of episodes of the Deke show. So I longed for the cartoon, and the only thing I could watch was G.I. Joe the movie. So I watched it a lot, and always enjoyed it. I mean, the animation is phenomenal in the movie. The voice cast is great, as always. You know, all the people that were in the original show, plus a few extras. And so because 86 and 87 were a lot of the figures that I had, 86, 87, 88, 89 probably were like the big years for me collecting brand new stuff. I really loved all those characters, and I really loved the idea of the battle in the snow from the beginning of G.I. Joe the movie. It's the first battle of the movie proper, right, outside of the Statue of Liberty battle. And I always kind of wished they made a pack of jackets for the G.I. Joes, or made them in snow gear. And we finally have Cobra Commander in his snow jacket, just like he wore in lots of episodes of the cartoon, but specifically that battle in G.I. Joe the movie. And I have kind of waited my entire life to have this figure. Now, he has been done in other styles. The modern 25th anniversary style did have one of these. But now I have an O-ring vintage style winter battle Cobra Commander. I made a custom Cobra Viper for the snow battle. I had an extra Snow Serpent and an extra Viper, and for some reason as a kid, instead of just being happy to have 2 Vipers and 2 Snow Serpents, I combined a Viper head onto a Snow Serpent body, so I had a Viper in a snow coat. That was a questionable decision, but that just shows you how impactful the movie was. So it was a figure with the Viper head and Viper boots and Snow Serpent chest, arms, waist, and upper legs, right? So in the movie, the Vipers wear like dark blue snowsuits. I didn't paint the figure, so that's how it turned out. I basically sacrificed one army builder because I didn't do anything with the Snow Serpent head and the Viper body. I think eventually that Viper body might have gotten used for some other custom figure at some point, but that being said, I love the fact that we're getting some of these snow guys. I would love Destro and Dr. Mindbender in their snow coats. And some of the Joes, too, like Quick Kick. They did do Bazooka. I think I have him right here. From the Reaction line in his cold weather gear. Because there is some memorable episodes with these guys. And Quick Kick actually debuts in the snow without the snow coat. They show him off just like his action figure looks, but in G.I. Joe the movie, he does wear a snow coat. Cobra Commander is hatred and evil personified, corrupt, a man without scruples, possibly the most dangerous man alive. Well, Super 7 had to deal with the challenge of a long coat. His coat goes past his waist down to his legs. It's an interesting challenge. This is the kind of thing we saw a lot with vintage Kenner Star Wars figures. How do you make robes into legs? The early Kenner Star Wars figures just had smooth insides of their legs, but some of the later figures, like Anakin Skywalker and the Imperial Dignitary, if you move their legs apart, those robe legs, they had like a ripple inside, making it look more like robe folds. And Cobra Commander here has sort of this squared off butt sculpt going on here. To make the jacket look long, but obviously it does have a break in it there, which doesn't look the best, but how else are you going to articulate him? So he's got his jacket, his gray jacket, over his regular uniform. He's got his black gloves on. His helmet seems to be just the standard helmet from this line, but so his waist piece is probably new. His upper legs are new. His lower legs are new because he's got snow, like fur around the top of his boots. Let's pull up the regular Cobra Commander from this line, see what they got to reuse. It looks like the head is the same, which makes sense for the helmet to be exactly the same. It also looks like his arms might be the same. Having those very generic arms with not a lot of details helps for that. This is definitely a new chest, right, with the zipper down the front and the hood on the back there. His waist piece is definitely different. He's got like a bit of a seam on the back there that's not on the regular figure. Upper legs are new, lower legs are new. So really, it's arms and a head. Pretty decent amount of new tooling for this figure, which is great. And he comes with the same pistol. Again, right, I kind of complained that Snake Eyes only had one accessory, but Cobra Commander really probably only needs the pistol, unless they're going to give him some sort of episode-specific accessory. That's all I really feel like Cobra Commander needs. Whereas Snake Eyes being a ninja, 2 swords, or a sword and a gun is kind of nice, but oh well. I have waited so long to have this figure. I want to put him in a stun, and I want him commanding troops. It's awesome. I want the twins, you know, in the front pods or whatever. Did Destro... I'm trying to remember which one. One of them has, like, Mindbender and Firefly in the front pods of a stun, and the other stun has the twins. And I guess Cobra Commander's in the other one, not with the twins. It's been a little while since I've seen the movie. I'm trying to imagine that scene again, but he's like, you know, telling them, why don't you behave like a lackey? And they're like, you know, mad about it. Everyone's getting annoyed. And then Cobra Commander's one swerves and crashes. That's part of how he, you know, has to move on to the next part of the battle, right? Get into a different vehicle and run and find the redwood toadstools. Super cool. I'm very excited to have this guy. Super 7, I'm here for more of these. Weakest link in this wave? Snake Eyes or Wild Bill, but both of them are good. There is no weak link in this wave. I think this wave of 4 figures is phenomenal. I'm happy to have every single one of these in my collection. I still need a Fatal Fluffy and Ramar. Ramar, or whatever his name is, the big giant guy, he's pretty easy to get. The Fatal Fluffy's harder. I need to check with a local toy shop and see, you know, someplace over in Jersey, maybe play with this, see if they have any in stock and go get one. It's killing me that I don't have them because I love this O-ring line. And the Fatal Fluffies, again, iconic cartoon character. I love that they're doing oversized stuff with this line too. That's super cool. So, yeah, we got the Cobra Claws is coming to town, Cobra Commander, right? I think he has this on with the miniaturized Cobra vehicles. There's just a bunch of great appearances of this version of Cobra Commander, so super happy to finally have him in my collection. I love it. What's new with you guys in the comments down below? Let me know which one of these figures is your favorite from this wave. What have you picked up recently? Your comments help tell YouTube this is quality content, and that is appreciated. Thanks for being here. Make sure to leave a like. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so. But most of all, thanks for hanging on the peg with me.